Hello everyone. This is Yuta Endo, Assistant Director of MERI, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan. Today, on this slot, we MERI will host the session and we'd like to talk about the region transition under the title of Challenges Towards Net Zero in Asia and the Role of Transition Finance. Actually, it's truly our honor to host an event under such a big event like ACEF together with ADB. Taking this opportunity, we would like to express our sincere appreciation to ADB staff and all the people coordinating this session behind the scenes. To kickstart the session, and just for an introduction part, I will briefly walk you through Japanese government's decarbonization policy package, which is called GX, Green Transformation. Let me use the slides if it works. Okay, so let me first explain what we think transition finance is. As we understand, there are so many definitions regarding transition finance. As you can see on the slide, to realize for our economy decarbonization, we literally have to transition from existing brown economy to green economy. But we understand all of the industries will not be decarbonized overnight. And some industries such as energy, electricity, and so on, so fundamental and cannot jump in the leap to decarbonize society. They need R&D to innovate new technologies and thus need more funds. And as we see, green finance is difficult to address this type of funding needs. So because it is used more for developed and proven technologies like solar PV or else. So transition finance is here to support industries currently having few ways to transition, but trying their hard to decarbonize their whole businesses. And which we call this kind of sectors, we call hard to abate sectors. And to the next slide, yes. On this slide, showing an IEA report, it says the activity called Make Dirty Cleaner, highlighted in yellow, is crucial for, determining the speed and scope of energy transitions, and it delivers the largest share of emissions reduction. And we believe this is in line with what I told just earlier, and it is transition finance that supports this Make Dirty Cleaner activity from financial perspective. Then some might ask, some might ask, like specifically in what areas do we see challenges? And our answer is kind of clear. The answer is decarbonization of heat and decarbonization of manufacturing process and materials. Let me be more specific. While decarbonization of electricity is already, commercialized in some ways, like solar PV, geothermal power plants. On the other hand, currently coal is something needed, and if it's for steel making, and oil and gas is inevitable for chemical sectors at the moment. And this results in based amount of GHG emissions. So if your target were to reduce 50% of GHG emissions, just focusing on green finance could be a way, but our target is definitely to realize net zero. So we have to take a deep look at all of the industries and thus have to think about decarbonization of hard to abate sectors as well. And just simply put, you couldn't get the full score without considering all of the subjects, right? So this is why we promote not only green finance but also transition finance as well. I think both of which are important to realize decarbonization. And with this in mind, let me showcase what we as a government have been doing to promote transition finance and to stimulate the domestic market. First, as shown in number 1, number 2, We published basic guideline and sector-specific roadmaps, mainly for domestic hard-to-abate sector companies, to try how to decarbonize their businesses with credible transition strategy. And not only issuers and borrowers, we also encourage financiers as well. We published some papers for financial institutions as well. And key message for financial institution is, you don't have to hesitate in financing high emitting sectors in case they have a credible transition strategy towards net zero, and also in case the use of proceeds is something needed to carry out the strategy. As a result of these activities, the cumulative amount of transition level finance in Japan has recorded 1.6 trillion yen. This is just over 100 billion US dollar. And we hope more and more funds to flow where emissions are and technologies to be developed and to be commercialized as soon as possible. On top of this kind of support to nurture and establish transition market in Japan, this February, we, as the government of Japan, issued transition, on top of this kind of support to nurture and establish transition market in Japan, this February, we, as a government, issued transition label bond as well. And we became the first sovereign to use transition label, meaning not just as a supporter, but also as an issuer. We, the government of Japan, have promoted transition finance. We will continue to issue transition label bonds. Plan is to raise 20 trillion yen over a decade, main portion of which will be used for R&D, demonstration, and deployment, with the intention to draw more and more investment from private sectors as well. With the GX policy package, we aim to provoke over 150 trillion yen for decarbonization investment. To sum up, we think realizing for the economy net zero is not achievable overnight. Thus, our strategy is to develop technologies with transition finance. This will contribute not only to decarbonization, but also to keeping up Japan's industry competitiveness as well. Which is why METI, as a government office in charge of industry, is taking the lead of this GX policy. Lastly, I can just touch upon Japan's contribution to ASEAN decarbonization. Yes, this page. And as mentioned, for the purpose of transition to the forward economy decarbonization, Japan has promoted R&D investment both from private and public sectors. So we want to put our focus on technology development so we can deploy them as soon as possible and then expand them into ASEAN market as well. Of course, we do understand the circumstances vary from country to country, but generally speaking, we see many in common between Japan and ASEAN. So if you move on to the next slide, you can easily see many countries in the region are still dependent on fossil fuels in terms of energy, just like Japan. Also, if you take a look at the slide, you will see the ability of renewable resources is very limited for many areas, which is also the same problem that Japan is facing. This is for solar, and the another one is for wind. So to conclude, we as a government of Japan hope more and more technologies being developed and will be commercialized as soon as possible, and truly hope we can contribute to the ASEAN region's decarbonization. Yes, let me stop here, and thank you for your kind attention. Yes, and can I pass the mic to the other one? Actually, we have 5 another presenters, and each have 10 minutes. So I'll pass the mic to another presenter. So thank you for your kind attention. Let's move on to the next speaker, Mr. Sho Hayashi, Project Officer on Energy of Area, so, or Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia. Okay, now floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sho Hayashi from AREA, Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia. And well, today's topic is transition finance and its challenges in Asia. And I would like to introduce what we are doing and then our perspective on this topic. Well, as Mr. Endo also mentioned, Asia's growing energy demand makes it really important for us to combine both renewable energies, but also the transition technologies. Well, the graph you're seeing here is from the IEA outlook on Southeast Asia, and it is still estimated that half of the energy supply will be coming from fossil fuel at the time of 2050. So therefore, as I mentioned, well, of course, we should try our best to increase the amount of renewable energies as much as possible. We also need to be realistic. And in order to achieve the carbon neutrality, we need to combine the so-called transition technologies. However, there are several challenges when we think about these supporting transition technologies from finance perspective. Well, and here, what I mean by transition finance is the financing activities that will support the energy transition. Well, that can include, well, the definition of transition finance might vary, and so it can include both green and transition technologies. But anyways, the first problem we see is the criteria and eligibility. So how can we assess transition finance? And what can be regarded as transition finance? That's the first part. The second part is then if we need to analyze what is regarded as transition finance, we need to look into details how they can contribute in the actual decarbonization of the region. So how can Asia achieve decarbonization in a realistic manner? And what sort of simulation can we utilize when assessing those projects? And the last part is how we can de-risk the mechanism such as blended finance, because a lot of the transition technologies requires a lot of our latest technologies which are still not yet bankable on the private sector. So we need to combine the public and private sectors financing and enable those transition activities to make it financially feasible. Well, I'm touching upon all those topics here today briefly. The first part is how we can assess the transition finance. And you see on the left-hand side, it is from the ICMA Transition Finance Handbook. And a key point here is that they clearly say we need the materiality, we need to check the materiality in science-based manner, meaning we need to refer to the external roadmaps or scenarios and make sure the project is aligned with the decarbonization strategy. And also the ASEAN Capital Market Association issued this transition finance guidance, which also mentions the importance of referring to transition pathway and transition targets. However, in the reality, the private financial institutions are having difficulties in thinking what can be regarded as science-based pathways and what sort of information can they refer to. So in order to solve those difficult and diverse problems related to transition finance, a lot of private financial institutions in Asia formed this ATF study group, Asia Transition Finance Study Group. And now we have 20 financial institutions and also the governments and the knowledge contributors as a participants and observers. And then, yeah, one of the topics we discussed is the decarbonization roadmaps and pathways. What sort of a scenario can we refer to? we are also aware that IEA is issuing their decarbonization roadmaps. Also, each government is releasing their own decarbonization roadmaps. And as area, we are also making our simulation here. And what we do here is something called cost minimization model analysis. And we take into account all sorts of technologies and energy sources, and then make a scenario where the expenditure, financial burden for the ASEAN region is minimized. So one thing we have to notice here is that this is not our suggestion to each government that they should follow this pathway, but it's a referring point on what will be the most economically efficient pathway. Well, key messages here are the importance of the end-use emission reduction and combined with negative emission technologies. And also the transportation will remain the key challenge for the region because simply transferring to EV would cost a lot of burden for the region. Also, when we have a breakdown on the power generation analysis. And so according to our scenario, in 2050 and 2060, we are seeing the increased amount of ammonia, hydrogen, biomass on top of the renewables, such as offshore wind, solar PV. And so this is our suggestion or our simulation on how the ASEAN region as a whole can achieve carbon neutrality while sustaining the rapidly growing energy growth in the region. Also, so we are showing different types of energy sources. And in order to supplement those information, AREA issues something called Technology List and Perspectives, or TLP, that analyzes all the latest technologies such as ammonia co-firing and CCGT and so on, so that the governments and financial institutions can refer to understand where are which phase in the development those technologies are standing at the moment. And also, I did a simple comparison between IEA model and AREA model. And there are two different assumptions here. One is the economic growth. So IEA model, compared to IEA model, AREA model is assuming a higher rate of economic growth based on each government's targets. And also, IEA is more ambitious in terms of the energy efficiency improvement. And those two different assumptions led to an interesting difference between those two scenarios. So if you look at the renewable in the middle, both IEA scenario and AREA scenario are estimating similar amount of usage of renewables. And on the right-hand side, they're also assuming the similar amount of carbon intensity decline. But because of the difference in the economic growth, the gap has to be filled by oil and natural gas. That is AREA's simulation. And what I want to address here is that it's not about which scenario is right or wrong, but at the moment we can only simulate based on a lot of assumptions, and we still do not know which assumption will stand in the future. So we need to be prepared for these different or various pathways. So by simply relying on a single pathway or roadmap would be putting us in a large risk in case where their assumption does not stand. Also, another challenge that I would like to introduce here is the blended finance or de-risking mechanism. This is something we are discussing at the ATF study group at the moment. And the core idea here is that if we try to support the transition finance related activities, there are a lot of different stakeholders you see in the green circle on the right. And the transition project includes a lot of risk. And so those risks should be allocated to different stakeholders and then made clear about the de-risking roles and responsibility for each stakeholder. Yeah, the type of risk are on the left-hand side, including the credit risk, cash flow risk, development risk, construction, operation risk, blah, blah, blah. But so there are all those risks that we need to take into account. And what we need to achieve here is that in order to make it financially feasible, we need those combination of blended finance, which can either decrease the risk of a certain project or increase the return of a certain project. And yeah, the chart on the left shows, there's a threshold on from the private financial institutions' point of view that what sort of projects can be bankable. So we do think that the blended finance can play a crucial role in enabling those difficult projects related to energy transition. This is a very preliminary slide, and this is my last slide. So what we need in the region will be, so we are showcasing here different types of risk again, and then we need to allocate and make clear that what are the risks each stakeholder should take. For example, the construction operating risk, social environmental risk, technological risks, those are already taken care by the private sectors, but risks such as the development risks or the political risk, regulatory risks, they should be taken care by the governmental agencies. So I think in order to push forward the energy transition in Asia, we need more dialogue among and across different sectors, including the financial institutions, also the government. Government includes both financial regulators as well as the energy regulators, and also, of course, the industrial players. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your holistic explanation. And then for the next speaker, Mr. Takeshi Numa, Manager of Finance and Control Division, KHI or Kawasaki Heavy Industries.
Hello, everyone. So I'm so nervous because perfect presentation after Mr. Hayashi's. So I am Takeshi Numa from Kawasaki Heavy Industries. I'm in charge of corporate finance. So I would like to introduce the Kawasaki Group's transition strategy and our transition finance initiatives. First, let me talk about our group mission. So Kawasaki working as one for the good of the planet. Based on this, we made our group vision in 2020. This group vision is not just extension of current businesses, but based on what social issues exist and what technology we can use to address them. These are remote societies and population, declining birth rate and aging population, pandemics, the global environment, and energy issues. We have defined 3 fields to focus on in these social issues. One is a safe and secure remotely connected society, and near future mobility, and the theme of this speech, energy and environment solutions. So this slide illustrates our overall strategy for carbon neutrality. And for all Kawasaki Group products, there are 3 major directions. The first is to build a supply chain for the hydrogen society, but what kind of products we will provide for the hydrogen society spread on the vertical axis. Only Kawasaki Heavy Industries can build this liquefied hydrogen carrier in the world. In order to be transported, the volume of hydrogen is needed to be reduced to 1/800th by liquefaction. On the other hand, it is necessary to maintain a very low temperature of minus 253 degrees Celsius. We have the technology to keep it at minus 253 degrees without adding energy. On the other hand, it extends diagonally to the upper right. This is the decarbonization of our products related to mobility, such as motorcycle. And the one that extends to the right is CCUS. We also have a very outstanding technology for this CCUS, which is called direct air capture, DAC. This is not a future technology, but we built and delivered to the Ministry of Defense in Japan, submarine. Move on. Next, I would like to add a little bit more about the technology and the advantages of a transition. In particular, we have a variety of product technology for achieving carbon neutrality. As I explained, we have very high technology for conditions. The upper part of the matrix is for mixture of energy co-firing and hydrogen gas turbine. And the bottom green is the gas turbine for hydrogen 100%. So we have mixed combustion, so co-firing gas turbine and 100% H2 gas turbine. It seems that mixed combustion rate is technically not that difficult, but it is not true. The reason for this is a difference in the burning speed of hydrogen and natural gas. It is generally said that the burning rate of hydrogen is 7 times that of natural gas. Therefore, hydrogen will burn first if it is simply mixed. And this is not make sense. Therefore, we have outstanding technology of this. On this page, it was the first experiment in the world where we supplied electricity and heat by hydrogen co-firing in a large city. We succeed already this co-firing and 100% gas turbine of hydrogen. And the mission of Transition Finance is to ask what I can do in the finance department I belong. So with these technologies, before I explain about Transition Finance, as you can see on this slide, we published a master framework last November. This Sustainable Finance Master Framework is the first in the world to make all types of sustainable finance by saying green, social, sustainability, blue, transition, and linked one. Therefore, we have all types of project or product qualified to all types of labels, which means that we have advantages on ESG. Most of all, it is possible to execute finance many times only by using this framework. So it helps to save our administrative cost. Based on this master framework, we issued a transition bond in February of this year. It was 10 billion yen over 5 years. The outline is as described above, but it is worth mentioning on page 11 that we were able to issue the bond 6 basis points lower than the theoretical calculations. This might be a possibility of realizing the so-called greenium or CTVAR, climate transition value at risk. So, which was recognized as enhancing corporate value for carbon neutrality, maybe. Next, I'd like to talk about the future of transition and the challenges in sustainable finance. There is a reason why we focus on sustainable finance in the first place. Here are 3 meanings, I think. One is keep as invested. This makes our company an investment, and this is the first reason why it is important to continue and to avoid negative screening. The second is HEDAS for the goals, which means that our product or services will be recognized as qualified by international standards such as ICMA. The third is inform as to stakeholders. If we make it widely known how our products and visions have become approaches to solving social issues. I can say that sustainable finance has these three values to execute. If you take the first letter of these three sentences, you can make KHI. As you may know, KHI is our company's abbreviation, so Kawasaki Heavy. So I feel destiny in sustainable finance. As such, we have KPIs and set targets for sustainable finance. This is, I think, very unique objectives. So the KPIs is the ratio of sustainable finance to interest-bearing debt mentioned above. And we have set a target of 100% in 2050 and 50% in 2030 to be procured through sustainable finance, which we have already announced in the first year of fiscal 2021. This ratio has been increased to 90% as of now. So this is the last slide. In order to achieve this goal, I would like to point out three things that sustainable finance or transition finance needs in order to achieve acknowledgement. One is that a carbon neutrality by top management is a commitment and important management issue. So as an action, we already decided to implement an ESG as a KPI for top management compensation since this year. Next, if investors treat this transition in the same way as green finance, they will see it as a more realistic, as Hai-san said, and more effective means of carbon neutrality than green. I think this is necessary. Finally, I think it will be important for issuers and the borrowers to be able to share the real economic benefit from this transition financing. One example is Greenium. So this is where it becomes very important. I believe that issuers and the borrowers can enjoy this benefit, which is also necessary for the transition to spread worldwide. That's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. And moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Gen Takahashi, General Manager of Public Sector Partnership Group, oversees administration department in JFE Engineering.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Takahashi from JFE Engineering Corporation. So today, I'd like to explain about talking about some JFE Group's efforts towards achieving a circular economy, which is crucial for the sustainable cities and communities. Someone is thinking about, hey, Mr. Takahashi, we are talking about some transition finance here, but don't worry. I'm remembering such kinds of word, transition finance or decarbonization, something like that. So JFE Group is a leading company in various sectors, including some steel making and also the infrastructure engineering. So JFE Engineering Corporation is doing some various types of some infrastructure project in a global market, such as some environmental friendly project and also the energy sectors and social infrastructure as well. So as I explained, JFE Group is having some steel making and some infrastructure engineering. It's a very, I can say, very unique type of some company group, I think. Because of some such kind of some uniqueness, how JFE Group is aims to achieve some carbon neutrality across its operations by 2050, of course. So to drive this transition, the group is focused on in the steelmaking sectors. Of course, you know, the steelmaking facilities are discharging some very huge volume CO2 emissions. So we are having some very strong commitment, including such kind of to develop some very innovative street making technology and also carbon recycling blast furnace technology, something like that. And on the other hand, in engineering sectors, because we are contributing to the CO2 reduction through our infrastructure business, such as some renewable energy project, and also the kind of some such a renewable power generation business as well. And also the additionally group-wise, recently we are very much focusing to accelerate some commercialization of our offshore wind power businesses. So as I explained, we are having some steel making factory, and also we are having some engineering company. So we are very much focusing to develop some very the big scale size steel structure for such kind of some wind power business as well. Then to achieve such kind of some, I can say the activities, we JFE Group is established a Green Transition Finance Framework by JFE Holdings. This is a mother company of JFE Group. So it will be some allocated towards the research and development in the breakthrough low carbon steelmaking technologies, investment in energy efficiency improvement project, scaling up eco-product manufacturing capabilities, and facilitating the adoption of renewable energy, and realizing a circular economy business model through the waste valorization. In our JFE Engine Corporation, to achieve this circular economy, so we are very much focusing for these 5 key initiatives. One is waste to resource, and utility service businesses, infrastructure business, and carbon neutral effort to reduce CO2 emissions, and 5, DX, digital transformation, as a technology, our technology base. And JFE Engineering, as a some infrastructure engineering company, we have made some significant contribution to the emission reduction through our various type of a project. In the fiscal year 2022, our activities, infrastructure business activities, contributed to reducing CO2 emission by approximately 11 million tons per year. So let me go to some waste management issue. Again, don't worry, I'm still remembering the world of finance, of course. But anyway, so unfortunately, this kind of a situation is a very common case in Asian countries. Have you ever visited such kinds of facilities? Maybe no. But anyway, so there are such kinds of some traditional waste management, such kinds of some open dumping site. It will make some very environmental challenges or some hazardous situation, such as some pest odors. Very bad odors, and also, of course, it's having some very big risk of some fire and explosion, and also groundwater contamination, and limited land availability. And most important thing is, it discharging very huge volume of methane gas. So it's affecting for the global warming, as you know. So these hazardous situations can negatively impact the local communities and economies, as you can imagine. Waste to energy system. It's one of our very big business by our JFE Engine Corporation. So waste to energy system is an effective circular economy solution that converts municipal and industrial waste into energy, reducing the reliance on fossil fuels and preventing methane gas emission in such kind of some open dumping site in the previous slide. Area, thanks to Hayashi-san, has identified waste to energy system as one of some 5 major potential transition technologies in the power sectors. So this underscores the crucial role of waste to energy system can play in the region's shift towards sustainable energy sources and lowering environmental impact. One of our JFE Engineering latest waste energy project in Bac Ninh province in Vietnam, very near from capital city Hanoi. So with this capacity, 500 tons per day of municipal solid waste and industrial solid waste, it will generate the 11.6 megawatt of power, and it's expected to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by an average over 40,000 tons of CO2 per year. Finance, I'm remembering. So, so this project, they're implemented through the multi-collaboration, the financing scheme, or some multi schemes. So it receives support or subsidy from Japanese government, Ministry of Environment Japan, named Joint Crediting Mechanism, JCM subsidy program. And also the IFC is making some financial packages in a collaboration with the Finland IFC branded Finance for Climate program. And also the equity of this project is shared between the Vietnamese local waste management company, Truan Thai, and also, of course, the JFE Engineering Corporation. So what I want to say in this slide, number one is such kind of some very much appropriate the branded financing scheme is very important, and also some kind of some collaboration with a local company also very much important for such kind of some local issues. And also, as a JCM project, yes, as I said, this is a JCM subsidy program, is a very special subsidy program provided by the Ministry of Environment Japan for the summer project which reduces some CO2 emission in this region. Luckily, we are having some 3 reference projects with using this JCM project. 2 waste to energy project, as I explained in Vietnam, another one is Myanmar, and also another one is waste heat recovery system for the summer cement factory in Indonesia. So we are very much proud of this very important 3 projects. Looking ahead, so the JFE Engineering is also actively developing the waste to chemical, not waste to energy, waste to chemical technology for the ethanol production. So this project funded by the NEDO Green Innovation Fund, and it aims to achieve some carbon neutrality in the waste and resource circulation through the integration of advanced gasification technology and biochemical conversion technologies. So this is my last slide. So our company purpose is just for the earth. Of course, as I explained, we are very much focusing for such kind of environmental friendly project. But please kindly read only capital word. Can you find my company name? JFE. So anyway, so in summary, JFE Group is paving the way for a sustainable circular economy through the innovative technologies, of course. And also the collaborative financing models, including transition finance, of course, and steadfast commitment to the environmental leadership. So thank you very much for your kind attention. So I will be very happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Presentation, and moving on to the next speaker, Mr. Carlos Ramon C. Aboides, Chief Corporate Service Officer of Aboides Power.
Good afternoon, everybody. So before I start, I wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'm Carlos Aboides, the Chief Corporate Services Officer for Aboides Power, which is a leading integrated power company in the Philippines. We power 1 out of every 5 megawatts in the country from a variety of sources, both renewables and non-renewables. And we also distribute power to over 1 million homes and businesses. Where the other speakers focused on the finance piece from a developed market perspective, I'll focus on the challenges part of this session's theme that the climate transition poses to the power industry from an emerging market perspective. challenges that capital markets and other stakeholders will have to keep in mind. My hope is that my reflections serve to provoke a constructive conversation that will move us all forward. So let me start by saying that climate change is a real global problem of epic proportions, and it must be solved. And the power sector, where the company that I represent is a leader in the Philippines, is a significant source of GHG emissions, producing about a quarter of the world's emissions. And we recognize that we play an important role in creating a net zero world. We do, however, also recognize that we play an important role in another transition, a human transition, that aspires to lift people, Filipinos in our case, out of poverty and into modern society. And in this pursuit, there remain significant challenges to the transition, the power sector, to the power sector, namely, the lack of economic alternatives to fossil fuels today, the expanding demand for energy, and lastly, the absence of constructive, fact-based dialogue in supporting sustainable and equitable progress. Allow me to dig into each of these challenges further. So often we hear pronouncements that renewables are cheaper than their fossil fuel counterparts. And when paired with the understanding that they're also cleaner, this results in a zero downside conclusion that we should immediately shift from fossil fuels to renewables. I mean, who can argue against the outcome of both mitigating climate change and creating a more efficient economy? From our vantage point, though, this understanding is flawed. Unfortunately, the math doesn't add up. Today's math is based on incomplete accounting, using the levelized cost of electricity, or LCOE, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, which you see in the dark blue bars in this chart on the left, as opposed to accounting for the intermittency and the lack of resource in solar and wind during different times of the day and year, which you see reflected in the levelized full cost of electricity, or LFCOE, with the light blue and green bars again on the left-hand chart. LCOE does not provide an apples-to-apples comparison. It's the equivalent of comparing a bicycle as an alternative to a car or truck as a mode of transportation. Like all modes of electricity generation produce electrons, all modes of transport get you from point A to point B. And like renewables, bicycles have lower sticker prices and are cleaner than their alternatives, cars and trucks. But as we all know intuitively, bicycles don't provide the same level of utility as cars or trucks or trains or ships, and cannot meet society's transportation needs alone. Renewables are similar in fulfilling the electricity needs of a society. And to shore up its weaknesses with batteries and other energy storage and other technologies means increasing its costs, rendering them materially more expensive than the alternatives, captured again in the LFCOE bars of this chart. To be clear, I'm not saying not to invest in renewables. I'm advocating for a view that they are part of the energy mix, not the lone or primary solution. And I'm asking us to ask the question, how much more are we each willing to pay for the transition? Double what we pay today? Triple? More? Often we focus on solving for decarbonization by focusing on the link in the value chain where emissions are produced. We apply pressure on supply-side actors in our system, steel makers, power companies, and give end users a pass. But energy is produced only if it is consumed. And this brings us to the second challenge. Electricity consumption is expected to more than double over the next 25 years. In the Philippines, as an emerging market, electricity demand is expected to double in half that time. This is driven by population growth, the lifting of those in poverty into modern society, which inherently is more energy intensive, and our need to continuously grow as a human race. This forecast likely understates a few forces driving more demand for electricity, namely the electrification of transport and industry, which is in its nascency, and the proliferation of energy-hungry AI. At the root of the demand of electricity, however, are our collective behaviors, needs, and desires. At the end of the energy value chain are individuals and the institutions that produce the hallmarks of modern society, namely individual security, comfort, basic health and well-being, freedom of movement, and for the fortunate, other luxuries. The evolution of our societies as we know it today is only possible due to the evolution of our energy systems emissions and all. And given the lack of economic alternatives to fossil fuels today, are we willing to give up some of these features of our modern society? Are those that have enjoyed these luxuries at the expense of our global climate willing to give up more than those that haven't? Can we innovate our way out of where we are with advancements in energy efficiency? I believe in the last 25 years, we've been able to reduce the energy, we've been able to reduce the energy intensity of our activities, yet we've still had rising emissions. So these remain questions without clear answers today. Lastly, we need to acknowledge when the narratives we use no longer serve us. The renewables hero and coal is evil narrative is no longer useful. It silences conversation about the need for a gradual transition and sacrifices understanding for the sake of convenience and comfort. The focus on the supply side exclusively is no longer useful. It implies a duality between supply and demand when they in fact are interdependent and allow us as individuals to point the finger elsewhere rather than look at ourselves. Holding all countries to the same standards is no longer useful. It ignores the imbalances in wealth, value, and responsibility that exist, and this impedes climate politics from advancing. Ignoring that a longer transition is needed is no longer useful. This reduces our collective apertures and means that easier short-term solutions that are insufficient get a preponderance of attention and resource, while longer-term, more difficult change is pushed back out of sight. We need to encourage braver, more nuanced conversations that acknowledge interdependencies, trade-offs, and differentiated roles and responsibilities if we are going to advance in earnest. A conversation I hope that we can carry forward together today. At Aboitiz Power, we are actively investing in decarbonization, including tripling our renewable energy fleet and collaborations with Japanese partners such as JERA to, as what was mentioned earlier, to make dirty cleaner. However, we know that this is likely not enough, and we advocate for a more candid and nuanced energy mix conversation that tries to price the economic, social, and environmental impact of the transition. We advocate for norms and policies that do not just penalize industry and the supply side of the economies, but that require that we change our demand behavior as well. At Aboitiz Power, we advocate for a more pragmatic and nuanced conversation about how we should transition our world towards net zero. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Carlos. So let's move on to the next one. The final one is Ms. Meutia Chairani, climate change specialist of ADB.
Hello, afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Meutia Chairani, and I'm from Energy Transition Mechanism team in ADB. I'm currently based in Indonesia, but also supporting other country. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'll share you about ADB Energy Transition Mechanism as a coal to clean transition finance mechanism. So yeah, I'll start with this slide, which basically summarizes all the issues, but in essence, this slide notes that Asia's heavy reliance on coal necessitates a large-scale, rapid transition to clean energy to meet Paris Agreement target. I think in the earlier ETM session, ETM team leader David Elzinga highlighted that the energy transition pathway require also alternative solutions that are technically viable and cost-effective. So in order to transition. And the earlier presentation by our colleague here also have outlined the possible pathway through technology, granted it's in the developed country model. Essentially, despite renewable technology being more readily available, coal power plants are not so easy to retire. Many are tied to long-term power purchase agreement, and the ETM is a scalable market-based solution to accelerate the transition from coal power to clean and renewable energy sources. As it is a market-based approach, it aims for an orderly transition with minimal disruptive impact and magnifying the opportunities for a larger transition. So ADB Energy Transition Mechanism has been quite a journey from the theoretical concept to the current operationalizations since COP26 in 2021 in partnership with Indonesia and Philippines and with seed financing from Japan. And currently, Indonesia has been our key champion. In fact, they adopted the ETM and integrated it in their own country platform in which I'm leading the partnership, as well as the Just Energy Transition Partnership in Indonesia. In parallel, ADB is also ramping up ETM operationalization by partnership with the CIF ACT, the GIAP and Monetary Authority in Singapore, as well as more contribution coming from Germany and New Zealand. So as highlighted earlier by all speakers, I think coal power plants are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, and Asia is heavily relying on coal. And despite the rest of the world, mainly the developed world, moving away from coal, Asia is they still have young fleets with long life remaining. And all this necessitates a large-scale accelerated transition to clean energy to meet, again, Paris Agreement targets. And this illustration is trying to visualize why accelerated retirement of coal is an important lever for decarbonization. And coal power plants are not so easy to retire, and this is visualized in the graph on the left-hand side. Many are tied with the long-term power purchase agreement. As you can see, it's filling up the energy demand curve and leaving no room for other technologies, be it renewable as well as new technologies such as presented earlier. And because there is no room for renewable energy, it's difficult to massively deploy this to achieve economies of scale. And as renewable is scaled, eventually they will come down in price and technical integration will be easier and bring down emission reduction benefit earlier, as well as the corresponding health benefit. And therefore, it is important to make room, as shown in the right-hand side illustration, so that renewable energy will be able to be achieving the appropriate scale. So ETM, as a transition mechanism, is anchored on the holistic 4P approach, as we call it. And this is to achieve a fair and orderly transition for economic growth, energy security, and decarbonization by engaging all stakeholders. People's engagement underpins the ETM approach at the top side. And a just transition, including safeguards in its cornerstone, is part of it. ETM also brings about policy reform, policy dialogue to accelerate the energy transition. We're working together with our partners in the government to carry out policy dialogue and reform as necessary. In terms of power, the investment in the power sector and power infrastructure to facilitate scaling up early retirement and ensuring security is necessary. And as many people say, there's no transition without transmission. So we're also looking at grid enhancement in order to facilitate more variable in renewable energy and maximize the potential, the renewable energy potential, especially in Southeast Asia, which is massive. And lastly, partnership as one of the key, together with the private sector, public, international organization, national, and even subnational stakeholders, and including civil society organization, and as well as communities. So ETM so far has been applied through phased approach in our developing member countries. The earlier stage of pre-feasibility and feasibility studies focuses on the country level. And then we recognize that ETM needs to be operationalized at pilot level, at transaction or asset level, in order for each developing member countries and its stakeholder to learn from the pilot and establish a fit-for-purpose scaling process and future planning progress. And that's why currently we are really quite busy into rolling out our first ETM pilot in Indonesia with one of a key private sector player in order to, again, demonstrate as well as for the country to learn from the process in order for the country to be able to scale up and to crowd in the market. See, this is quite a crowded diagram, but in essence, the ETM program overview is outlined here. The right side of the slide outlines the goals and outcomes of the program, accelerating core retirement, accelerating and scaling up clean energy, and achieve just transition. ADB facilitates achieving all these goals through the middle part of the slide here, through technical assistance, direct ADB financing transaction, as well as through scaled up ETM funding vehicle, which is a blended finance facilities, again, to crowd in more investment and more players into the transition finance sphere. ETM is operationalized across multiple thematic and country work streams. And this slide summarizes the thematic work streams that covers ETM funding vehicle, again, the blended finance facility, ETM partnership trust fund, carbon finance, and as well as taxonomy, technical feasibility studies and technical assessments, just transition-related work, assessments and planning, safeguard and stakeholder engagement in which we engage with the CSOs as well as communities, as well as partnership. And this slide is summarizing the country work stream that covers Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, and other new developing countries coming in. As you can see, we're quite heavily focused in Indonesia as one of the key player, but also other countries are ramping up, particularly the Philippines, as both Indonesia and Philippines has been on board ETM since COP26 in 2021. So in summary, accelerating core retirement through ETM as a market-based solution will enable just and orderly transition in alignment with economic growth, energy security, and decarbonization. And yeah, this would create demand for substantial investment in renewable storage and other clean technologies. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rani, for your explanation. Now we have got all of the presentation from each of you. So let's go. Yeah, let's move on to the final discussion. So in order of presentation, okay? So I'll be here. And Ms. Rani. Be here. Okay. So thank you for all the presentation, and let's get started the panel discussion part. For the first one, I would like to ask Numa-san of KHI about the experience of issuing transition finance in Japan, as you are on finance side, right? So how is the reactions from investors or the market? And if possible, let us hear how your company wants to contribute to ASEAN decarbonization with the technology you are now developing.
Thank you, Endo-san. So my experience of the transition bond is that, in fact, this February issuance is the first time. So, but we already had experienced the green bond since 2021. So we have the certified green qualified products, and so why we need to issue the transition bond even if we have already the green bond? So to tell the truth, our company's scope 3 category 11 is the almost more than 19% of our CO2 emissions. So it means we don't emit CO2 so much. But on the other hand, our customers emit CO2 through our products. So we need to present a solution for the transition. So we need to address this problem. So we have to issue the transition bond, and we explained debt IR. So many investors, I explained the necessary for the transition through our products, and they invested eventually almost all investors. So this is our need to issue the transition bond. And as for contribution in Asia, so we have many qualified products or services through our master framework, and we got the certification from the second party opinion based on the principle of green bond or other kind of principle. So we can provide our services and the products with to achieve the carbon neutrality. So such as the JBIC buyer's credit. So we can contribute to the ASEAN's carbon neutrality.
Thank you, Numa-san, for your explanation. And actually, METI has been creating the transition market for a few years, since 2021 or 2022. And there's I think that is a turning point that KHI is trying to issue the transition model finance. That's very helpful from our side as well. Thank you. And also I like the idea to use finance tools, not just selling technologies. Then Takahashi-san, I understand Jeffrey has experience issuing transition bond too, but I know your expertise is more on project side. So in this sense, could you let us hear how you will contribute to ASEAN's transition? And we understand Vietnamese case can be a role model, but is there any obstacle to expand the role model to ASEAN world?
Okay, thank you very much, Endo-san. Yes, we JP Engineering is an infrastructure engineering company, as I explained. So we are contributing such kind of some transition with using some our technology. Also, not only about some waste to energy technology, as I explained, but also let's say, for example, biomass power generation or some bio waste methanation system, and also the energy saving system. So that we are having some various type of some technology to contribute such kind of some transition action in the Asian countries. And also, maybe as I explained, even though, of course, we are very much proud of some of our technology, of course, but sometimes such kind of some transition, the roadmap is including some kind of some local context or some local issue, local challenges. So to develop some very much appropriate project, I think we think such kind of a good collaboration with a local partner is also very, very much crucial. So luckily we are having some the branch offices in some all over some Asian country. We are having some local staff, local colleagues in there. So we can have such kind of some local issues or some local realistic issues that how to develop such kind of some transition technology as well. So obstacle, yes, obstacle. We are many times we are facing such kind of some obstacle or some challenges. If I may point it out one thing, finance. Of course, I'm very much happy to hear about some, let's say, the ETM providing some ADB, and also the METI or some Japanese government is also very much supportive for such kind of some financing scheme. But still, we are having such kind of some lack of good appropriate financing scheme. Let's say, for example, when we are developing such kind of some project, sometimes someone is saying, "Oh, hey, Mr. Takashi-san, you are having some very good technologies. We understand." And also, hey, Takashi-san, you also have to bring your money also. But this is a kind of some partnership program, I say. But someone say, no, this is a private project. So please mobilize the very good finance scheme by yourselves. But even though in such kind of situation, yes, someone that has explained that still such kind of some transition, the investment or some transition project still facing such kind of some difficulty. So the mobilize a very much appropriate funding scheme. So thanks to ADB again, but the role of MDBs, including some ADB, some IFC, World Bank, or some maybe JICA, JBIC, will be some very much important to materialize such kind of very important project. So yes, thanks to Endo-san, I think some of our Vietnam case is a very good example of how to mobilize such kind of some multi-collaboration financing scheme for such kind of transaction, for such kind of some important project. And so, of course, we are very much happy to collaborate furthermore with ADB or some other MDBs as well to develop such kinds of appropriate project in the Asian country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Takashi-san. Yeah, I clearly remember Mr. Hayashi-san also mentioned the importance of the blended finance. And I saw Ms. Rani want to say something, right? So can I ask your opinion or your thought on the Takashi-san's comment? I think embedded is something important and to play a role on this kind of transition finance or transition world.
Yeah, I think MDB is here to do the difficult job, right? Before everyone else coming in. So that's the reason MDB is established, is really to be the development partner, to work with our DMC to catalyze for the future investment for cleaner energy once the market is maturing. But when the market is not yet mature, then we come in and catalyze and enable the environment. So that's why we're working also with the policy, and we work through our various modality, including the policy-based lending, and then we work with the utility company on a result-based lending through our concessional lending modality, because we're climate bank, so we will support our DMC to transition towards achieving their own respective net zero commitment.
Thank you for your comment. Looking forward to collaboration between Takashi-san and Ms. Rani. Okay. And then Mr. Carlos, I feel we do have the same understanding that balanced approach is something important. And so in that sense, how do you see the technology being developed by Japanese companies like KHI or JFE? And asking this because I understand your company has alliance with JERA, and some studies is going on about the ammonia co-firing or something like that.
Sure. I think so. These collaborations are very important to us because in the Philippines, we're in a market that it's a market of scarcity. It's an emerging market context, right? Which means we don't have the R&D systems in order to develop the technologies of the future that we're going to need to be able to get to decarbonize our country and economy. So we rely, I think, on other markets like Japan and our participants in those markets to innovate and maybe innovate jointly with us. So an example that you raised was one of our shareholders is JERA. They're a very important partner of ours in our transition, and they are experimenting with co-firing of ammonia in their coal-fired power stations. Right. Again, this is the whole concept of making dirty clean. So working with them on that monitoring to see whether if that is successful, in the future we can start to think about solutions like that in the Philippine context. But this is something, this is sort of our kind of deep tech innovation that companies like ours in the Philippines cannot engage in ourselves. We just don't have the human capital in country. We don't have the capital markets supporting basic R&D in the country. We don't have the ecosystem needed for this sort of work to be done. So we do look in a way to developed markets, Japan and others, to pioneer the technologies of the future that we're going to need, because we in the Philippines, we're here to deploy technologies that are commercially feasible and viable. And there's only when we can take the risk of deploying those technologies, but we rely on other partners to de-risk the research and development and deep tech risk that's involved in things like co-firing with ammonia and carbon capture and other technologies like that. So,
thank you, Carlos. Yeah, actually, I do agree with you. And it is responsibility for the developed countries to invest in the R&D technology or something like that. And as I explained, the government of Japan already prepared 20 trillion yen for a decade, and to establish or somewhat develop the technologies and make it commercialized. I'm not sure all of them will go on and moving well, but probably one of them or a few of them will be commercialized, and then that's the time we will expand that kind of technologies to ASEAN market as well. And also that will be contribute to the Japanese companies as well, because they can, from the standpoint of ourselves or Japanese companies, they can expand or stretch their businesses into ASEAN using the developed or invested technologies. Okay, so again, Ms. Rani, for technology-wise, I might hit you on the spot, but how do you see these developing technologies? Right now, we understand that ADB has a more greener policy right now, but and also I think your colleagues, but your colleagues also going to Japan to see some ammonia co-firing systems or like something like that. So.
Yeah, I think sitting here with the most advanced technology is really encouraging to see. I think we have a future there that is feasible. But again, I mean, for ADB's overarching goal is to support the transition to low carbon and carbon neutral energy systems. So therefore, any support for transitioning technologies like hydrogen, ammonia, would likely be depending on their ability to contribute to the decarbonization effort and align with long-term climate goal. And of course, in the interest of our DMC, is whether or not it's a fit for purpose and making economic sense for that particular developing member countries. So in all, for ETM, we're at the moment, it's technology agnostic as long as you can, meaningfully demonstrate the meaningful decarbonization pathway or effort. But nonetheless, we also recognize that some of our DMC having other aims and goal. For example, I think some DMC has already determined that using natural gas for transition fuel and co-firing with biomass, I think the DMC will be determining the most suitable pathway for them to embark, and ADB is there to support them, and we support them in the best way possible to help them accelerate their decarbonization.
Thank you. And when it comes to making economically sense, I think I remember a presentation from Mr. Hayashi, because the area's assumption is more like thinking about the economically makes sense or not. So can I just have some thoughts from you.
Okay. Yes. So I think we all share the same goal of achieving the actual decarbonization of the entire region, and so we need to take all sorts of means that will contribute in that process. And so yes, we've been discussing about the de-risking mechanism and then blended finance. Uh, but what I want to address here is that I think we had enough of a high-level concept discussion, and we are like there are a lot of taxonomies, and there are the country-level decarbonization roadmaps, and there are different like documents that guides us how to achieve the transition finance, for example, but I think what we need here is to focus on the details and actually focus on like individual cases, because I think the high level discussion, we all agree on the concepts, but in reality, if we try to apply it in the real cases, what I hear from the financial institutions at the study group is that there are a lot of unclarity, and also even if they try to apply what is said in the guidances, there are some the government's regulations that is prohibiting from achieving a certain goal, and so there are a lot of bottlenecks, and it's not someone's fault, but it's just that we are all tackling this challenging task that no one has ever had this clear solution for. So yes, I really think from here onwards, we do need the conversation between the industry players and the MDBs, and also the governments, both the financial regulators as well as the energy departments, to deal with what each stakeholder can take a part in order to solve this complicated problem. And as area, from our side, we have been knowledge contributor as a research institute, but we are starting to realize that just publishing research papers is not enough in order to achieve that goal. So we are willing to take that role to facilitate the conversation among the different stakeholders. And that, in this context, we are setting up the Asia Zero Emission Center, which is in collaboration with AZEC initiative by METI. So yes, I hope, yes, we all share the same goal, and then so hope we can have more collaboration in the future. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, can I a little bit deep dive into the ASIC Zero Emission Center?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'll elaborate. So as I mentioned, so AREA had been addressing a lot of issuing a lot of research papers, focusing on, for example, hydrogen, ammonia. Also, we are focusing on like transportation decarbonization. There are a lot of researches, but I think we are strengthening and increasing our capacity to bring it to the policymakers and identify what sort of regulation would be needed for each country, for each sector. Well, of course, we cannot address all country, all sector at one time, so we need to prioritize, and starting from several key topics such as the grid or the transportation. But our goal is to, yes, be the moderator. And in that process, I think we also have a lot of researchers in-house, so we can be, in a way, a consultant or advisor, or a partner who can run together with, for example, the industry companies or the regulators in taking the next step and how to interpret those different guidelines and roadmaps and the existing activities by other stakeholders. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you for your clarification and explanation. So, if I'm not mistaken, the kind of AZEC or the areas activities, some are connected to ADB's team or not? Or you
Oh.
are looking for it?
Yes, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we are in conversation with the Japan team to sort of align and coordinate our programming and see what can be aligned together. But yeah, I just want to add also that yeah, I mean, the challenge of transition finance is it less clear. It is less clear than the green finance, right? But I don't think it's a reason for us to stop doing action, right? And I agree. I think beyond research, we have to learn from real experience, and that's why we need pilots, and we need more pilots to learn from, and then accumulate this knowledge to be a key learning for everyone. Because transition finance again will be unique for each DMC, which with each different DMs, net zero target as well as their needs and potential. For example, Indonesia is a very unique country with a very disparate grid, and very much relying on coal with very good renewable energy potential, but also massive fossil potential. So it is ended up, the decision of each country to determine which trajectory they want to embark upon in order to achieve, the goal. A balancing act again, balancing between domestic potential of both renewable, which is in place.
Oh, I fully agree with her. And then, yeah, so we look forward for our future collaboration.
Yeah, me also looking forward to future collaboration. So we have less than 3 minutes. So if you have any wrap-up comment, can I get something? If I may, yeah, or anyone, and
I mean,
and if you want help.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that we have to do, and we just have to start and just do and learn. Fail fast, fail fast, but learn fast. So don't take excuse of inaction. Problem is intractable, but we have to start somewhere and learn fast from our lessons. Maybe that would be my message. Over to you, Carlo.
Thank you, Rami. Yeah, no, I would just add and just say, and while we act, which I think is really important that we act now, we also need to define the problem better. Because if we define the problem poorly, we risk wasting a lot of capital and a lot of energy and not achieving the progress that we aspire to achieve. And so while we act concurrently, let's strive to through candid conversation and fact-based conversation, figure out what the real problem is and understand the constraints of the solutions we have today, and try to find our way around that, right? So work on the today, but also make sure we're investing in our ability to get 100% of the way there, right? If you look at, I think the capital flows today, they mostly are focused on again renewables, which arguably will not get us 100% of our way there. So we need to start asking the question as well, how do we now start funding some of these deeper tech, or deep decarbonization technologies that the world so badly needs? Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from Tilly? If not, it's okay.
Okay,
but,
okay, so my turn. So, but anyway, so actually, I'm very happy to be here to talk about some such kind of very important issue, transition finance, with these kind of some professional. I'm not a professional, but anyway, so I'm having some very important word in this session. So the one is the realistic approach or some realistic solution. So of course, no one ignoring such kind of some, I can say, the importance of some transition, but also we have to see the very realistic situation in the countries, in the cities. So, this is one of some very important word in this session. The second is a kind of some good best, how can I say, the branding or some best combination of multiple the ideas or multiple financing scheme and also the multiple stakeholders maybe. So yes, of course, we JP Engineering is very much proud of some of our technology, of course, but without such kind of some good collaboration, we cannot solve such kind of some very important issue in a global market. So, anyway, thank you very much for this the very beautiful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So,
In short, so I'm happy to speak this honorable stage, and so I'd like to say that transition finance is, as they mentioned, a realistic way to carbon neutrality, and I hope so future collaboration with these members. Thank you.
All right, I think I speak too much, but for me, well, I want to introduce like 3 of the outputs that are coming from us in the near future. One is as ATF study group, we are now focusing on the blended finance, and also we'll be publishing our findings and then recommendation this fall. So yeah, please check it out. Second one is the technology list that I also presented. That is also being updated. It will be released towards the end of this year. And also decarbonization pathway, we show the graph to you, but that was actually analysis from like several years ago, and then we are now updating and then making it available for the public this summer in August. And so you should be able to access to all the simulation in an easy manner. So please check it out. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, all the speaker, thank you for your presentation and fruitful comments. And thank you for your kind attention, audience. Even if I think there is a slight difference in the position we are taking, but we can probably are looking forward to a further discussion to collaborate more and discuss more. Okay, thank you very much.